On a frozen January morning in New York City, a homeless veteran, 63 and nearly invisible to the world, asks Elon Musk for a single dollar. What follows is a collision of two very different lives, bound by humanity, transformed by one moment of courage. The city groaned beneath the weight of winter. Snow fell in cruel spirals, not the soft storybook kind, but sharp, stinging shards that sliced sideways into skin. Steam hissed from manholes, mixing with the breath of hurrying strangers, all eyes down, shoulders up, world shut tight. Sam Rivers stood beneath the chipped awning of a boarded-up bodega on 45th and Lexington, bundled in layers of cast-off fabric, an old army coat too thin for this kind of cold, a scarf more whole than warmth, and gloves with fingers that had long since surrendered. His breath was ragged, every exhale a cloud that vanished like the faces of passers-by. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. Pride had its limits, and he was nearing his. He had once been 6'2", broad-shouldered, unbreakable. Now he stood slightly, stooped, hollowed out from the inside, like an old house left too long in the rain. His boots, army issue from another lifetime, were cracked open at the soles. Each step was a negotiation with pain, but it was not the cold or the hunger or the ache in his knees that made today different. Today, Sam had decided to ask. He spotted the man coming from half a block away, flanked by 2 assistants, a black wool coat hugging his frame, eyes half shielded by tinted glasses. Not a celebrity in the conventional sense, yet somehow more surreal than one. Elon Musk wasn't supposed to walk sidewalks. He was supposed to live in another dimension entirely, the way myths do. Sam didn't want to ask him, of all people. But something in his gut twisted. Maybe it was hunger, maybe it was fate. Either way, he started forward. One of Musk's assistants saw him first, tensed like a guard dog. "Sir, step back. I'm not asking for much," Sam said, holding out a weathered palm. His voice cracked like dry wood. "Just $1, just one." Elon paused. The wind curled around them. The city fell quiet for a moment, just for a beat. $1, Musk asked. No judgment, just curiosity. He stepped closer. Sam's hand trembled. "I fought for this country 36 years ago. Desert storm. Lost my wife to cancer. Lost my daughter in the system. Lost myself somewhere. In between. I'm not here to beg. I'm here to see if someone like you sees someone like me." Elon's eyes narrowed. Not in suspicion, but in attention. He waved his assistants off with a flick of his fingers. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sam Rivers." The 2 men stood face to face. One carried the weight of rockets and companies and headlines. The other carried the weight of memory and frostbite and 30 years of pain. "I don't carry cash," Elon said, lips twisting slightly, as if the irony wasn't lost on him. "But maybe you can help me with something instead." Sam blinked. The hell did that mean? "You've got a look in your eyes," Elon continued, "like you've lived through more than most. Ever think about doing security work? I mean real work, not a handout." Sam stiffened. Was this a joke? Some tech billionaire social experiment? "I'm not looking for pity." "You're not getting any," Elon said. He pulled out his phone, tapped a few things. "I have a team staying at the Langford 3 blocks from here. Go to the front desk. Tell them Elon sent you. You'll have a room for the week, a hot meal. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., there's a guy named Harland waiting to interview you. Show him what you're made of." Sam stared, unable to speak. He had asked for $1. He was given a doorway. But the truth was, stepping through that door scared him more than the cold. "I don't know if I can," he started. "You already did," Elon interrupted. "You asked." Sam opened his mouth to respond, but a sharp whistle cut through the moment. A man stumbled across the street, shouting in their direction, scruffy, red-eyed, cracked voice. "Hey, Sam, you leaving us now? Got yourself a sugar daddy?" Sam turned, recognizing the figure. Travis, another vet, another lost soul who didn't like handouts unless he was giving them. Travis had seen Sam at his worst and never once judged him. Elon stepped forward instinctively as if to defend. "No," Sam said quickly, raising a hand. "He's just... You think you're better than us now?" Travis snarled, arms wide, stumbling. "You take his scraps, you don't come back." A thin crowd had started to gather, phones out, watching, filming. Of course they were. Sam's heart pounded, old instincts surged, fight or flight, but he was too old for both. Elon didn't flinch. He simply looked at Sam. "Your call," he said quietly, and in that moment between the cold, the cameras, and the thousand unseen scars, Sam had to choose, walk toward hope and face the judgment of his own past, or walk away and keep hiding. From the world that once forgot him, he took a step, but not forward. He turned to Travis and said something no one expected. "I'm not better than you, Travis," Sam said, voice steady but low. "But I'm damn tired of pretending that staying broken is some kind of honor." The words hung there, brittle in the winter air. For a second, Travis looked like he'd been slapped, not by Sam, but by the truth in it. The kind of truth that lodged in the throat and burned its way down. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. The rage in his eyes flickered, softened, then blinked away behind the fog of whatever cocktail he'd drunk or smoked that morning. Sam took a slow breath. The weight of his own words settled on his shoulders heavier than the snow ever could. The small crowd, sensing the moment had deflated, began to drift. No violence, no spectacle. Just two old men facing the ghosts they used to drink to forget. Travis muttered something, maybe a curse, maybe a prayer, and turned back toward the alleyway where he slept, boots crunching over the ice. No one stopped him, not even Sam. Elon was watching, not just with curiosity now, but with something closer to respect. "You didn't have to explain yourself," he said. "Yes, I did," Sam replied, almost to himself. "Not to you, to him, to me." He could feel it now, that strange sense of motion without movement, like something inside had shifted a few inches in a direction he didn't recognize yet. It wasn't pride, it wasn't shame either, just motion. And that, after years of standing still, was terrifying. "I'm not sure I belong in that hotel," Sam muttered, eyes falling to the pavement. "I think you're the only one who gets to decide that," Elon said. That night, Sam stood in the lobby of the Langford Hotel, like a man who had wandered into a painting. He'd never seen carpet like this, thick enough to lose your step in. The chandelier above him shimmered like a frozen waterfall. Warmth clung to the air, scented with leather, citrus, and something floral he couldn't name. The receptionist didn't blink when he gave his name. She smiled, typed something into the computer, and handed him a key card, like he wasn't wearing 3 layers of grief and dirt. Room 1407. The elevator ride made his stomach lurch. He hadn't been this high up in a building since before his daughter was taken by Child Protective Services. Before he was a man people crossed the street to avoid. When he opened the door to the room, he stopped breathing. A bed. White, clean, massive, the kind you fall into and never want to leave. A couch, a television, a bathroom with towels stacked like loaves of bread. A robe, an actual robe, folded neatly beside the sink. He touched everything, slowly, as if it might vanish if he wasn't careful. He sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor. That's when the shaking started. It wasn't cold anymore, not on the outside anyway, but his hands trembled like they were still under a bridge. His chest ached. Something inside him began to unravel, thread by thread. He hadn't cried in 10 years, not when the shelter closed, not when his tent was burned, not even when he saw his daughter in a news story last summer and realized she didn't remember him. But now, alone in a warm room with clean sheets and silence, he wept. He didn't sob. He didn't scream. It came quietly, the way a dam breaks after years of pressure. Tears slid down cracked cheeks. His shoulders shook in the dark. He wept because he had survived, because he was still here, because someone had looked at him and seen a man, not a ghost. The next morning, sunlight broke through the curtain like it hadn't in years. Sam shaved. The hotel razor was dull, but it did the job. He stared into the mirror, unsure who looked back. His face was lean, angular, mapped with lines that told stories no one asked about. But his eyes, green, still sharp, still there, looked different, awake. He dressed in the clothes left by the door, slacks, a button-up shirt, even socks that fit. Elon's assistant had arranged it all. No logos, no fanfare, just dignity folded into fabric. At 9:55 a.m., he stood in front of room 514, where the interview was set to take place. He knocked. The door opened, revealing a man in his late 40s with a buzz cut and eyes like steel. "You, Sam?" the man asked. "Yes, sir. I'm Harland. Come in." The room was minimalist. Just a table, 2 chairs, and a tablet open to some kind of application form. Harland motioned for Sam to sit. "You served?" "Yes. Desert Storm." "Rank?" "Sergeant." "Specialization?" "Combat engineer." Harland nodded. "Elon told me to see if you're serious." "I am. You got any addictions I need to know about?" "Not anymore." "Where have you been sleeping the past few years?" "Everywhere." There was a pause. Harland leaned forward, studying Sam like a chess piece. Then he said something Sam didn't expect. "You know why Elon asked me to interview you personally?" "No. Because he said you had a presence, and because he trusts my gut." Another pause. "I run security for one of his New York assets. It's demanding, long hours, high expectations, but it's honest. If you want in, you'll have to pass a psych eval, a background check, and a physical. You willing?" Sam didn't hesitate. "Yes." Harlan's mouth curled, not into a smile, but something close. "I'll give you a trial period, 1 week. Screw it up, you're gone. But show me you're who I think you are." He stood and extended a hand. "And this might be the last winter you spend on the street." Sam shook it, firm, clean. For a second he believed it. That this wasn't a dream. But the past has a way of following you. As Sam exited the building, a black SUV idled across the street. Inside, someone watched him. Someone he hadn't seen in years, and they weren't here to offer a job. The SUV sat there like it belonged, its black body gleaming even beneath the haze of exhaust rising in ghostly tendrils from the street. New York swallowed everything in noise and movement, but this vehicle was still, watching. Sam felt it before he saw it. That old tingle at the base of his neck, the one he used to get when a patrol wasn't alone in the desert. A sixth sense, sharpened by war, by instinct, by trauma. He slowed on the sidewalk, turned his head casually, as if checking for traffic. Tinted windows. No plates he could read. Government-grade tint, not cheap, the kind of tint that wasn't legal for just anyone. A figure sat in the driver's seat, partially obscured, but as the SUV pulled away, no brake lights, no rush. Sam caught a sliver of the face behind the glass. No, it couldn't be, but it was. He knew those eyes, even 20 years later, even with time dragging its claws across both their faces, he knew them. Raymond Keller. Not a friend, not family, worse. Ray Keller had been his CO in the army, the man who gave orders like they were scripture and buried guilt beneath doctrine. Sam had testified against him once, during an inquiry into the disappearance of 2 civilian contractors during a Black Ops assignment. The report was buried. So were the bodies. Sam never saw the inside of a courtroom again, but he lost something bigger, his career, his future, his sense that the system would protect those who told the truth. Raymond disappeared from the public. Sam had assumed he'd been forced into retirement or shuffled into some dark government corridor, but now he was here. Why? He felt the air shift again. The cold returned with cruel fingers. That SUV wasn't just a coincidence. It was a message, the job, the hotel, the second chance. It had all cracked something open, not just inside Sam, but around him. His past had smelled blood in the water. By the time Sam returned to the hotel, his mind was buzzing, half adrenaline, half memory. He paced the length of his room, turning pieces over in his head. Could Keller know about the job? About Elon? No. That didn't make sense. Unless the new job had pulled a thread that connected back to something buried deep. Elon was known for strange projects, classified partnerships. Maybe this security job wasn't just checking doors and flashing badges. A knock at the door snapped him out of the spiral. He opened it to find one of Elon's assistants, young, sharp-suited, holding a tablet. "Mr. Rivers, Mr. Musk would like a word. In person." Sam blinked. "Now?" The assistant nodded. "Now." The private lounge on the top floor of the Langford was a quiet sanctuary above the madness of the city. No one else was up there except Elon, seated near the window with a cup of coffee. He didn't seem to be drinking. The skyline behind him stretched like a battlefield of glass and light. "You saw him, didn't you?" Elon asked before Sam even sat. Sam hesitated. "You know who I saw?" Elon nodded, calm but grim. "Raymond Keller, former lieutenant colonel, officially retired. Unofficially, attached to a few government operations no one wants to talk about." Sam sat slowly. His heart ticked in his chest like a slow bomb. "I didn't tell you this earlier," Elon continued, "because I wasn't sure it mattered. But the building you'll be working at, one of my research facilities in Midtown, used to be leased to a private defense contractor. The kind that did work Keller's name showed up in. It's clean now. My team runs it. But someone's been sniffing around the old security clearances, and now I'm on their radar." "Seems so." Sam leaned forward, his voice low. "Why me? Why offer me this job? You didn't know about Keller when you gave me the hotel room." "No," Elon agreed, "but I recognize something in your eyes, something I look for in the people I trust with things that matter. You're not broken. You're scarred. That's different." Sam let that settle in. He wanted to believe it, but years of being forgotten didn't vanish with one compliment. "Elon," he said, his tone tightening, "if Keller's involved, this isn't just about me. He doesn't care about grudges. He cares about loose ends. You're stepping into something deeper than philanthropy." Elon gave a wry smile. "You think I've gotten this far by staying on this sidewalk?" Sam studied him for a long beat. "No bravado, just calm certainty, the kind you don't fake." Elon leaned back, folding his hands. "Harlan's moving up your clearance screening. If you want out, I'll understand. But if you stay, this job may mean stepping into the fire again, not as a pawn, as a protector, my team, my project, and now maybe my enemy." Sam's hand twitched. That word. Enemy. It had a taste, he thought. He'd forgotten. "No running," Sam said finally. "Not anymore." Elon nodded, then stood and walked to the window. "I'm meeting with some partners tonight. We're laying groundwork for a civilian data security initiative. Something new. Something Keller would hate. If you want in, be there. I'll have a car waiting at 6:30. Sam rose too, still uncertain but grounded. "One more thing," Elon added, turning back. "What?" "If Keller came back after all these years, he's not just here for surveillance, he's here to clean house. And you're not the only name on the list." Sam felt his spine tighten. Then maybe it's time someone cleaned back. He left the lounge with his mind locked in overdrive. The past was no longer a shadow in the alley. It was at the doorstep, knocking with bloodied knuckles. But this time Sam wouldn't hide. He'd already started to change his life. Now he might have to fight to keep it. Outside the hotel, the SUV was back. This time, the passenger side window rolled down, and Keller smiled. Not the smile of a friend, the smile of someone who knew your secrets and planned to bury them. Sam froze, not out of fear, but calculation. Keller's window was halfway down the black interior, swallowing most of his face in shadow, but his smirk gleamed like a blade, the kind of smile that said, "I already know what you're going to do, and I've already won." The SUV idled like a beast at rest, engine humming, invisible threat. Coiled beneath the hood, Sam's pulse ticked, steady but sharp. The wind picked up, cold as regret. People walked by, oblivious to the war quietly restarting in the space between two men who had once served the same flag and now stood on opposite ends of its meaning. Keller nodded, slow and deliberate, before rolling the window back up. Then he was gone. No tire screech, no rush, just silent confidence. The message was clear. I'm watching. I'm not done with you, and you can't stop what's coming. Sam didn't go back to his room. He walked instead, pacing the streets for blocks with the long, practiced strides of a man who needed to feel the ground under his boots. His mind turned like a gear too worn to lock. Memories blurred into the snow-whipped streets, the interrogation room, the missing civilians, the mission that had gone black so fast it had felt like someone had turned off reality. He'd seen things, reported them, and been discarded. Now here Keller was, 15 years later, in a luxury SUV like nothing had happened, like Sam's fall into oblivion had been a footnote. By the time 6:30 rolled around, Sam was standing in front of the sleek black vehicle Elon had sent. A different one, clean lines, discreet driver, no games. The driver gave him a nod and opened the door. Inside, the warmth felt surreal after the chill outside. The leather seats cradled him like a coffin made for kings. They drove through midtown traffic in tense silence. Destination, a private conference. Room atop one of Elon's satellite offices in Manhattan. An unmarked, unlisted facility designed more for high-level think tanks than corporate meetings. Glass walls, soft lighting. Security badges that looked one step short of retinal scanners. The elevator opened to a single floor, empty but for one door. Behind it, Sam found Elon seated at a long glass table, surrounded by 4 people who looked more like operatives than business partners. No suits, no small talk. They all turned as Sam entered. "This him?" one asked. A woman with short silver hair and eyes like cracked ice. Elon nodded. "This is Sam Rivers." The woman rose. "My name's Val. I'm the security director for Protocol Aegis. We handle asset protection across a number of high-risk initiatives." "Elon told me you're ex-military." "Former combat engineer," Sam replied. "And before you ask, yes, I've seen fire. Yes, I've had clearance. And yes, I know how to follow orders when they're worth following." Val's lip twitched. Just slightly. Approval, maybe even a little amusement. "This isn't just about guarding property," she said. "This is about preemptive containment. Elon's working on something Keller's people would do anything to stop." She tapped the tablet in front of her. It spun, revealing a diagram, encrypted nodes, data routes, civilian communication networks, and something else, an AI security protocol Sam didn't fully understand. "It's called Ember," Elon said. "It's designed to protect grassroots activism and public data infrastructure from manipulation, political, financial, military. It levels the playing field, makes certain players very uncomfortable." Sam understood now. Keller wasn't just haunting him. He was hunting this, and Sam, by some twist of fate, was now on the front line. Val leaned in, steely. "We believe Keller's working with a group embedded in several data firms across the East Coast. They're not just trying to stop Ember. They're trying to erase the blueprint entirely. That means targeting the people building it." "You think he'd go that far?" Sam asked quietly. Elon didn't blink. "I think he already has." Val slid a folder across the table. Sam opened it. Inside were photos. Gruesome. 2 engineers. Dead. One looked like a robbery gone wrong, the other a staged overdose. But the timestamps matched key moments in Ember's development cycle. These aren't accidents, Val said. They're signals, Keller's calling cards, subtle enough to avoid media attention, loud enough to shake us off. Sam stared at the images. He wasn't new to death, but these were different. Calculated, professional, controlled rage with a political endgame. So what do you want from me? He asked. Eyes, ears, instinct, Val said. People like Keller underestimate men like you. They think broken means weak. We're counting on that. Sam closed the folder. He thought about the street, the snow, the $1 he'd asked for, not 2 days ago, and now this, a second chance wrapped in shadows. He looked to Elon. You sure about me? Sam asked. Elon nodded. I'm not offering you charity. I'm asking for help. It was the first time anyone had said those words. To him, in years, Sam stood. Then I'm in. Val slid a badge across the table. It gleamed under the overhead lights, black, with no name. Just a single red stripe. Welcome to the other side, she said. As Sam pocketed the badge, the door behind him buzzed. One of Val's team stepped in, face pale. We have a breach, she said quickly. Warehouse 17. It's one of our Ember nodes. Security feed shows Keller's SUV outside. Sam didn't hesitate. I'm coming with you. Val didn't argue. She just nodded once and opened the weapons case behind her. Sam stared at the row of compact gear, his hands already reaching for the one that felt most familiar. Weight, balance, memory, they all returned. As he locked the sidearm into place, he thought about something Harland had said. Show me who you really are. Now, he was about to. They raced down the elevator into the waiting vehicles. Outside, the snow had started again, but this time, it wasn't. Falling gently, it was coming sideways, like a storm was building, and Sam was walking straight into the heart of it. And somewhere ahead, in that warehouse full of secrets and silence, Keller was waiting. The SUV carved through Manhattan's arteries like a scalpel, precision turns, speed without panic, lights ignored. Sam sat in the back seat with Val beside him, both strapped in tight, eyes forward, saying nothing. Words didn't belong in the space between readiness and action. Outside, the city was swallowed in darkness and snow, visibility reduced to mere feet. Warehouse 17 lay just beyond the East River, a repurposed shipping terminal Elon's team had converted into a secure node for Ember's first live framework test. It wasn't just a data site, it was a nerve center, and now it was compromised. Val's earpiece crackled. No heat signatures inside. Main feed's been looped. We're blind. They're already inside, she muttered. Sam's gut clenched. He wasn't just riding to a fight. He was riding toward the man who had destroyed his life from the inside out. Keller. The name alone made his jaw tighten. The man had once worn the uniform with pride. But somewhere along the line, that pride had curdled into something else, something colder. Keller believed in control over truth, obedience over honor. And those who questioned him, they vanished, quietly, efficiently. Sam had questioned him and survived barely. The SUV rolled to a stop 2 blocks short of the warehouse, engines cut. Silence rushed in like vacuum. We go in low, Val said, checking her sidearm. No lights. If we engage, we keep it clean. We don't want a scene unless they force one. Sam nodded, already checking the weight of his pistol. It felt natural in his hand, an old extension of muscle memory. He hadn't held a weapon in over a decade, but his body remembered. They exited the vehicle and slipped into the cold, boots crunching on ice-glazed pavement. The wind howled off the river like a warning. Warehouse 17 stood hunched against the storm, massive, silent, its metal exterior worn and graffitied, blending into the city's neglected bones. A single security light flickered above the loading, dock casting shadows that danced with menace. Val motioned her team around the back. Sam followed her through a side access path between buildings, moving like he had all those years ago. Shoulders low, breath steady, footsteps precise. No wasted movement. As they reached the East Service door, Val held up a hand. Sam stopped. Behind her, she tapped into her handheld monitor. Static. The entire feed was jammed. "Manual breach," she whispered. Sam took point. He reached for the door's edge, fingers working the latch by feel. It gave way with a soft click, and they slipped inside. Darkness. Total. The kind that pressed in from all sides. Sam let his eyes adjust. The warehouse smelled of metal and ozone, the kind of sterile artificiality that came from server racks and sealed air. Val activated a red-lensed flashlight, just enough to show shapes, equipment, cabinets, a row of humming servers that should have been dead if the power was truly cut. But they were running, and so was someone else's plan. They moved deeper. Sam's boots echoed like whispers. He reached the corner of a storage corridor and froze. A figure stood at the far end, silhouetted by the emergency light behind him. Tall, calm, waiting. Keller. No weapon drawn. Just standing there, watching. Sam raised his pistol slowly. Keller didn't flinch. "Well," Keller said, voice low and even, "look at you." Sam said nothing. He let his silence speak. Keller stepped forward, hands behind his back. "You're cleaner than I expected. Shaved, dressed, almost looked like a man again." Sam's jaw flexed. "You always did like to talk before pulling the trigger," he said. "Still pretending you're above it all." Keller tilted his head, studying Sam like a specimen. "You're standing in the middle of a war zone, wearing someone else's badge, working for a billionaire with a savior complex, and you think..." "I'm the villain." Sam kept his aim steady. "I don't think I remember." Keller's eyes gleamed. "Funny, you remember selectively, like the civilians in Kandahar, the ones you conveniently forgot to mention in your first report." Sam's voice cut through the dark. "I mentioned them when I realized you lied to cover up their deaths." "They were collateral," Keller snapped, a crack in the mask. "And you knew it. You knew the game we were playing. You just didn't like losing." "No," Sam said. "I didn't like what I became under your command." A tense beat. Then Val's voice sliced in from the comm. "Backup has Keller's team flanking the west corridor. They're not alone." Keller smirked. "Of course we're not alone. You think I'd come see you personally without a plan?" He raised a small device, no larger than a thumb drive, and pressed it. The servers around them hissed. Lights flared red. "They've been reprogramming Ember's core node," Val growled. "If he finishes, he'll wipe the framework." Sam didn't hesitate. He moved. 2 shots cracked the air, one from Val's team, one from Keller's. Chaos erupted as figures appeared from the shadows, gunfire echoing off metal and concrete. Sam sprinted not away, but toward Keller. The old instincts roared back to life. Every step was precision. He tackled Keller before the man could fire, sending both of them crashing into the racks. They fought in silence. No words, just fists, elbows, knees. Keller was strong. Age hadn't dulled the edge, but Sam was fighting. With something else. Something Keller had long abandoned. Conviction. Keller's hand found his knife. Sam caught his wrist. Steel gleamed in the dark. They struggled. Gritting, snarling, Keller twisted, forcing the blade closer to Sam's throat. Sam's muscles screamed, but something inside him screamed louder. He slammed Keller's arm against the edge of the server cabinet with a wet crack. The knife clattered. Sam grabbed it, pressed it to Keller's throat, breathing hard. They locked eyes. "You don't have it in you." Keller hissed. Sam didn't respond. Instead, he stood, knife in hand, and backed away. "I don't need to kill you," he said. "I just need to stop you." Keller laughed, low and broken. "That's where you're wrong." Suddenly, an explosion of glass. The skylight above shattered. A drone dropped through, blinking red. Self-destruct protocol. Val screamed through the comm. "Sam, move!" But Sam didn't move. He saw the device, saw the countdown, saw Keller's smile. This wasn't just sabotage, it was suicide. The warehouse lit up with red light and sirens, then darkness and impact. The blast ripped through the warehouse like a breath of hell, a deep concussive whoomp that bent steel and shattered glass, sending a shockwave screaming across the riverfront. Flames bloomed orange and furious, licking skyward in a column of chaos as the world twisted sideways and then collapsed inward. Alarms died mid-scream, sirens rose in the distance, and then, for a moment, there was nothing but smoke and silence and heat. Sam's body hit the floor before he knew he was falling. Time fractured, sounds became shapes, heat became weight. All he could feel was pressure and ash. Something hard was pressing into his ribs. He didn't know if it was debris or his own arm. He tried to move. Pain answered, but pain meant life. That was something. He blinked, or tried to. A haze of red and grey washed over everything. The air was thick with scorched circuitry and burning plastic. Above him, the roof had collapsed inward. Only a sliver of open sky remained, a cold reminder that the world still turned above the fire. "Sam, do you copy?" Val's voice, distant, tattered by static. Sam reached for his earpiece, fingers numb. The motion sent a bolt of agony up his shoulder. His hand came away sticky with blood, but he pressed the "Come anyway." "I'm here," he croaked. "Jesus." "We saw the detonation. You're alive?" "Mostly," he said, coughing. "We're breaching the east wall now. Sit tight. We've got medics coming in." But Sam wasn't sitting tight. He was already pulling himself toward the wreckage where Keller had been. Every breath hurt. His right leg dragged uselessly behind him. He didn't care. He had to know. He found him beneath a collapsed section of server rack, pinned at the waist. Keller's face was pale, blood trickling from his temple. He was awake. Barely. His breathing came shallow and quick, but his eyes still held that same cold clarity, unbreakable, even in death. "You should have let it go," Keller rasped. The words, like gravel, dragged across rusted iron. "You should have known better," Sam replied, kneeling beside him, each motion a riot of pain. Keller coughed, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. "You think this ends with me?" "I was just a symptom," Sam shook his head. "You were a choice, one the rest of us paid for." A silence stretched between them, heavy, final. Then, Keller smiled, weak, bitter. "You always were a stubborn bastard." Sam stared at him, not with hatred, but with something closer to sorrow. "Yeah, and you always thought fear was the only way to control people." "You think Ember will change that?" Keller wheezed. "You think your little project's gonna save the world?" "No," Sam said quietly, "but it'll give people a fighting chance, and that's more than you ever gave anyone." Keller didn't respond, his eyes unfocused. He died without another word. By the time Val's team reached Sam, the fire had subsided into smoldering ruin. Medics pulled him from the wreckage, slid an oxygen mask over his face, and began their work with the kind of urgency that says, "This one's still got a shot." Sam faded in and out of consciousness as they loaded him into the ambulance. Blue lights danced across the inside of the vehicle. For the first time in years, he wasn't. Outside, watching them fade into the distance, he was in the light, surviving it. 4 weeks later, the snow had melted. New York wore its early spring like a second skin. Grimy, reluctant, but alive. The world had kept turning. Sam sat on a bench overlooking the East River, wrapped in a light jacket that Elon's people had brought to the hospital. His arm was in a sling. His ribs still ached when he laughed, but he was upright, breathing, whole. A small scar ran along his cheek now, just beneath the eye. Another one to add to the map. Harlan stood beside him, sipping coffee from a plain paper cup. "You're lucky, old man," he said. "Medic said another 30 seconds, you'd be toast," Sam smirked. "Yeah, well, Keller never was great with timing." Harlan chuckled, but his tone sobered. They identified the rest of Keller's team. Ghost contracts, no official ties. But the message was clear. Someone powerful didn't want Ember to go live. Too bad, Sam said. Because it's already rolling out, isn't it? Harlan nodded. Beta launch yesterday, quiet, under the radar, the kind of thing that spreads before it's noticed. Sam exhaled, a deep, full breath that didn't catch in his lungs anymore. Good. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. Inside, an old photograph, faded, a little torn. His daughter, 8 years old, smiling, standing, in front of a field of wildflowers with his late wife. He stared at it for a long time before tucking it away. "She's in Boston," he said almost to himself. "I found her." Ember flagged an open data post she made, volunteering at a housing outreach. "She's using my wife's maiden name, but..." Harlan raised an eyebrow. "You going to reach out?" Sam stared at the water. "I will. When I'm ready. When I've earned the right to show her who I am now, not who I used to be." Harlan didn't press, just nodded. They sat in silence for a while. Then a car pulled up along the curb. Elon stepped out. No entourage, no spectacle, just him. "Figured I'd find you here," he said. Sam looked up. "You're not exactly inconspicuous." Elon grinned. "No, but I'm consistent." He walked over and extended a small, sleek badge. "A new one. This is yours now, full clearance, permanent, head of internal security for Ember's New York node." Sam took it, turning it over in his hand. It didn't feel heavy, it felt earned. "People will ask why a homeless vet is heading up the most important civilian security program on the East Coast," Elon said. Sam smirked. "Good. Let them." Elon's expression softened. "You could have walked away, Sam. You had every reason to." "Yeah," Sam said, "but maybe that's the reason I didn't." He stood. The city buzzed behind them. Cars, voices, sirens in the distance. "Life," Elon offered. A handshake. Sam took it. There was no fanfare, no applause. Just a moment between two men who, in their own ways, had stepped beyond the lives they were expected to live and into the ones they had chosen. As Elon turned to go, he paused. "One more thing," he said over his shoulder. "I found a program that helps reconnect veterans with their families. No pressure, but if you ever decide to write her a letter, let me know." Sam nodded, then turned back toward the water. The sun was setting behind the skyline. Not dramatic, not loud, just steady, warm light cutting through the haze. A man had once asked for $1 and found the courage to ask for more, not just from others, but from himself. And in that asking, everything changed. Not all at once, but enough. Enough. To begin again.